beautiful people, welcome to a new video. We'll be learning how to make this two-piece corset top. It's very easy and beginner friendly, so let's get started. So I'll start with my measurements. Measure my bust, the under bust and the rest. So I'm trying to mark the length of my shoulder to my under bust is 14, to my waist is 17, then the blouse length. So I'll start ruling horizontal lines across where I marked now. My bust point, my under bust, my waist. Then I'll put in my shoulder measurement. My back is 16 divided by 2 is 8, which is what I'm marking out now. So that will be my chest line. I'll use 8 inches for my chest line as well. So I'll rule horizontal line for that. Then I'm trying to mark out my armhole. My 1 inch shoulder slant. That's standard, so I'll mark that. For the neckline, I'm doing 3 by 3. I'll mark that as well. For the neckline, okay. So I'm done doing that now. I'm going back to my armhole. I'll divide that. The half of it is 4 inches, so I'll go in with 0.5 from that 4 inches. Then I'll connect it so I'm done with my armhole. So now I want to label my pattern. That's my chest line, my bust point, my under bust, my waistline. I'll drop the link for a video on how to draft your basic bodice pattern, well detailed, or you can watch it. So after labeling my pattern now, my bust span, that's my nipple to nipple, is 8 inches. Divided by 4 is 2 inches. Divided by 2 is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches across the line. That will serve as my that leg. So that's what I'm marking now. So I'll rule a straight line there. For my bust point. So on my under bust, I will mark 1 inch on the two sides, 1 inch on the two sides. So I'll go down with ½ inch from my bust point. You can start from the exact bust point, but I don't like. So I'll go down with ½ inch from my bust point. I'll connect to that 1 inch I marked at the under bust on both sides. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, so after doing that, I would mark that 1 inch as well on my waistline. Both sides of my waistline. So I'm going to connect the lines with my ruler. So I'll roll it down like so. Remember, it's 1 inch I marked on the side. So on that front part, I'll mark ½ inch. Remember, my fabric is on fold, so when I open it, that will be 1 inch. You can do 2 inches, but what I'm marking now is ½ inch. So I'll roll a straight line now to connect that. Then I'll connect it to my under bust. I'll connect it to the under bust, which is what I'll do now for my corset. I'm trying to form the cup for my corset. So for my shoulder line, I'll just come down. Then I'll connect again to my underbust for the cup on the other side. So after doing that, I'll measure what I have on my shoulder line. I'll divide it into 2 equal parts as I'm doing now. So I'll rule a straight line to connect it to my dart leg, that 4-inch. So see what I did now. So I've done that now. I'll go above my chest line with 1 inch. I want my cleavage, my bust covered. So for my cleavage, how low I want it, I'll mark that down. It all depends on what you want. I went 1 inch below my chest line for that. So I'll connect the lines now. I went 1 inch above the chest line, then 1 inch below the chest line for the cleavage in front. So I've connected that. So I want to go below my armhole with 1/2 inch. So I'll try to connect to that 1 inch I marked above my chest line. I want my boobs covered, rather. So can you see? I'm finishing that out with my hand. So I'll do the overbust tightening. I'll take half inch darts on both sides. Go up again from the bust point with 1/2 inch. So I'll connect the line for the overbust tightening. It's very important to do your overbust tightening so that it will last when you wear it. So I'm doing 1/2 inch. If it's for someone that is very busty, you do 1 inch for the overbust tightening. I'm not so busty. My bust is 37, so I'm just doing 1/2 inch on both sides. So we're almost done. Remember, my front half length is longer than my back half length with 2 inches. So I'm going to take that as my bust dart. So I'll use 2 inches now. Mark 2 inches on that side and connect it for my bust point, which is what I just did now. So that when I close that up, my front and back pattern will be equal. So I'm trying to put in my measurement, divide my bust by 4 inches, divide my underbust by 4 inches. My underbust I'll divide by 4 inches, but I will add that 2 inches that I'm cutting out to make it up. I'll mark that out. Then your waist, when you divide by 4, don't forget to add the dart that you put, the 2 inches that you put it back. I'll repeat that for all the measurement. Divide it by 4, then add the darts intake that I'm cutting out. So after putting my measurement now, I'm trying to connect the lines. This video will be kind of long. That's why I divided it into 2 parts. So the other one will be the sewing part. I just want to take my time to explain this one, so that in the other video I will just show you the sewing part of it. So I made a mistake, so I'm trying to correct it. That's my 2 inches that intake. The difference between your back and front is 1.5, that's what you use for your bust dart. So I'm trying to mark out all the darts I'll be cutting out. So I'm shading the part I'm shading are the part I will not be needing. So I'll be cutting them out. That's why I'm shading them now, so you will see. I'm done doing that. So I'll try to cut what I don't need out of this pattern. You can see it's very easy. So I'm trying to cut out now. So I'm cutting out the pattern. So that bust dart, I'm trying to close it. It's very important to close this bust dart so that at the side your front and back pattern will align. So I'm trying to close the bust dart. You can cut it out, but me, I like closing. So when I close it, I'll use my tape to hold it down. Please, you can watch our video on how to draft a basic bodice pattern. So after closing the bust dart, I noticed the corset cup is not equal again. You can see what I'm trying to show you. After closing it is not equal, so you have to redraw that line. So which is what I just did now. Even on the side, one side became longer as well at the edge of my pattern. So I'll still have to correct that with my pen. So once you close your bust dart, the lines tend to shift, so you just have to correct it with your pen. So I'll just cut out all. So I'm trying to cut out my pattern now, so which is what I'm just doing. So I'm cutting out my pattern. I'll not be needing the yoke, so I just cut that out. I don't need it for this. So I'm trying to label the pattern so I will not be confused. Make sure you always label your pattern, so when you are joining it, it's easier. It's very easy for you to join. That's why I like to label my pattern. So I'm done cutting the front piece. See what we have. Remember, everything is on fold, so when I'm cutting, so I want to hold them together when cutting. You can cut it like that, then join it, but I just want to hold it together. I'll use my sellotape to hold it down, so it will just be one piece. When I'm cutting, I'll just place it on my fabric and cut. But you can cut it one, like, separate, depends on your preference, but this is how I want to do this now. So I use sellotape to hold it down. That's it. That's what I have there. Then I just remember that the edge, I didn't mark that edge so that it will look nice, not so sharp. So I did 1 inch at the edge, so I'm cutting it out to give it that nice finishing. So we are moving over to the back pattern. So the first thing we'll do, remember our front half length and back half length is not the same. My front half length is 17, my back is 15. The difference is 2 inches. So I'm marking that, meaning the length of my front and back pattern will not be the same. The back will be shorter with 2 inches. So just take note of that. So I've put in my back measurement, my chest line, and that's my waistline there. So I'm trying to fix my armhole now. The neckline, I did 3 by 1 inch, basic for back. I'll not be needing the yoke anyway, so half of that shoulder line, I'll go in with 0.5, just the way I did for the front, so my armhole is ready. So I'm trying to measure the length of the back pattern. It's shorter from the front pattern with 2 inches because of my half length, my waistline. My waistline is 2 inches longer in the front. So I'm using that same 4 inches I use for my back, for my front, for the dart leg, which is my nipple to nipple measurements, 4 inches. So I'll rule that down now. There's no zip allowance. I'm using loops for the back. So I'm taking half inch on both sides for my waist darts. Half inch on my waist darts. I'm using that for my waist dart. So I'll roll it down. Can you see what I'm doing? Remember, from the front, I went down under my armhole with half inch, which is what I just did there now. So at the back, I'll go down with 1 inch on this side. So half inch from this side, then going down, that place was 1 inch. So I don't need that part. So now, since I will not be using a zipper, it's a loop I'm using, so I just want the back to have this V shape, so and I don't want it too open. So I'll do 1.5 inch at the upper part. At the middle I'll do 1 inch, then that edge I'll do 1/2 inch. Depends on how wide you want it. You can do 2 inches or 3 inches, but I want it to have that V shape and I don't want it to open. So I'll do my overbust tightening there too, so that back will relax. I'll just took 1/2 inch on the chest line at the back. So I'm marking out all the parts that I will not be needing. So I've marked that out now. So the next thing I'll do, I'll put in my measurements. Everything will be divided by 4 plus the 1 inch that I'll add that, then I'll mark it. Repeat same thing for my waist. I wouldn't forget to add the 1 inch that I'll do that on both sides. Then I'll just connect the lines. Drafting the back is very easy. So we are almost done. Remember that 1 inch I did at the edge of the front? I'm going to do that too for the back. So I'll cut that out as well. So I'm going to label it so I will not get confused when joining it. So I'm cutting out all the parts that I will not be needing for this top. So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we post new videos. And thank you so much for your support. So I've cut out that, so I'll make sure I label my pattern. That is the center back and that is the side back. That's the upper part, and that is the mark indicating the loops that we are going to be using for this top. So you can decide to cut them separated and sew it back, but for this pattern I want to cut them together. So I've cut out my dart, so I'll just use my tape to hold it together as one piece. Then I'll just cut out my pattern with it. So we are done with the back pattern. It's so easy. Can you see? So we're done with the back. That's what we have for the back. So you see, I'm arranging it now. You see it's equal on both sides, the front and the back on the side, because of that bust that I closed at the front pattern. So see what we have. Our pattern is ready. So I use this pattern to cut out my fabric, so you see what we have. So in our next video I will show you how to sew it. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe. Bye.